The big question: would you buy to live, buy to let, or does Leeds need more investment before you even think about it? Right, let's have a butchers and see wagwan. This is an auction property. Always check the legal pack. As well as auction fees, you may have additional costs and other property problems. Today we are reviewing a property, but there is no access to view. The property is a freehold, back-to-back, 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom, end of terrace house. The on-street parking is free and there is a small courtyard at the front. From Leeds city centre, it is roughly a 10-minute drive, 25 minutes on the bus, and a 5-minute walk to the bus stop. I don't know about any storage as there is no access to the property, but generally in back-to-backs, there's no storage, but there is a cellar. The EPC rating is F. Oh, problems. Plus, the certificate expired in February 2024. Yeah, this is not looking good. The property is 94 square meters and the owners of the property are not based in Leeds. The buyer is required to pay £200 towards the seller's solicitor's cost and £200 towards engrossment. This property is being sold with tenants in situ, which is happening a lot at the moment. The problem starts, however, is because there is no AST, assured short-hold tenancy. We don't even know how much the rent is. On top of that, the tenant hasn't paid rent in years. There's an S on the end, that means there's more than 1 year. How has the landlord got to this point? I don't think the landlord is a portfolio landlord, as portfolio landlords have systems and resources in place to deal with non-paying tenants. A portfolio landlord would have had these tenants evicted a long time ago. Or the landlord did issue a Section 21 and the courts are a little backed up at the moment, so the landlord just got fed up and thought, you know what, let me sell. Or something that's never spoken about: are the landlords a bit, how can we put it, strapped for cash? Is it that they can't afford the fees? To apply for possession costs money, bailiff costs money, locksmiths costs money. There is also the time and the stress that it causes. Yes, there are landlords that are sat on a beach sipping cocktails 11 months of the year, but they are the minority. The majority of landlords are your plumbers, your teachers, your nurses, your chefs, your police officers, your hairdressers, your pilots, who are working full-time and have a buy-to-let property on the side. Some people save and purchase a buy-to-let property, others have inherited a property and then they let it out. The tenant is named on the property information form, but with no access. How do you know that is the tenant in occupation and they've not sublet it to a family of 25? Do you know what I mean? If the tenant is not engaging with the landlord, they are probably not reporting repairs either. Where did the landlords get the tenants from in the first place? Was it managed by a letting agent and the landlord and letting agent fell out? Was it a tenant find only service with a letting agent and the landlords can't cope with self-management? Or is the tenant a friend of a friend and the relationship has gone wrong? Or maybe the tenants just can't be asked to pay the rent. It would be great to get a landlord's statement and give the next landlord a heads up in terms of what's happening here. Looking at rentals, what are 4 beds in the local area on the market for? Let's get an idea of the type of rent arrears the tenants may possibly have. Looking at the cheapest rent, the rent arrears could possibly be roughly about 20,400. Not allowing access could explain why there is no EPC. It also raises the question, When was the last time the boiler was checked? A lot of times when a tenant is in this level of arrears, they don't allow the landlord or their associates access to the property. So as precaution, the new landlord just needs to prepare funds for a refurb. Let's do a rundown of the tenant setup questions. Who is the tenant? They are named on the property information form, but that's all we have. How many people live in the property? Ain't got Scooby. When did the tenancy start? Ain't got Scooby. Is the tenant working, student or DSS? Ain't got Scooby. How much is the rent payments? Ain't got Scooby. Is the rent paid in full and on time? No. Is there a rent statement? No. Do the tenants intend on staying or leaving after a sale? Ain't got Scooby. Was an inventory done at the beginning of the tenancy? Ain't got Scooby. What type of tenancy agreement is it? Is it an AST regulated? Ain't got Scooby. Was a deposit paid? Ain't got Scooby. Was a how to rent guide, the latest version, issued? Ain't got Scooby. Was any right to rent checks done? Ain't got Scooby. Is there a gas certificate? Ain't got Scooby. Is there an electrical certificate? Ain't got Scooby. Is there an EPC? We've talked about that already. Does the property have any smoke alarms? Ain't got Scooby. Does the property have a carbon monoxide alarm? Ain't got Scooby. Was the property rented fully or partly furnished, and does the furniture meet the furniture and furnishings fire safety regulations of 1988? Ain't got Scooby. Does the property need any type of license? Now, I have looked at the Leeds City Council website, and this is what it currently says. What is the state of the property? Ain't got Scooby. Landlords, who's going to take the risk? There are a lot of tenanted properties currently on the market, so somebody's buying them. Are you going to negotiate with the tenant to get the paperwork in order and start the rental payments again? Or are you going straight for an eviction? Or do the one thing that normally divides landlords' opinions, pay the tenant to leave? If you can buy this property as close to £60,000 as possible, just assume the refurb is going to cost around possibly about 30 grand for a 4-bed. Give the tenant about 10 grand to leave, and maybe there's a little bit of profit to be made. Contacted 3 companies, eviction specialists and solicitors, and this was their advice. Company 1 said, because there is no AST and the EPC rating is F, it will probably be thrown out in court, and their consultation fees are £200 per hour. So thrown out in court, basically the landlord will get possession. Company 2 said this is not a case they would take on. And Company 3 said it's complex, it might get thrown out of court, but their consultation fees do start from £175 plus VAT per hour. Whatever way you choose to go, whether it be an eviction specialist or a solicitor, or you just pay off the tenant, this is not cheap and your pockets better be deep. And no, you cannot send around Phil and Grant Mitchell to have a word. That is not an option. If the property was vacant, looking at short-term rentals in the local area, how much can we charge per night for 6 guests? What can we learn? I personally would never buy a tenanted property from an auction. I would need to ask the tenant setup questions, and there is no time for that. Plus, I just know the legal pack would not have the information that I require. I think it's very risky, especially if the landlord is self-managing. If the property is fully managed by a letting agent and the letting agent found the tenant and is able to answer all the tenant setup questions, then that's a lot less risky. Looking at sales, what are 4 beds in the local area on the market for? I wouldn't be surprised if this property ended up back in the auction. let's have a look at the sales history and if the property sold.
Oh my.